Back in 1982, Jeff Bridges played two men named Flynn and Clue, and on the grid Tron fought for the users. Oh yes he did. Then flash forward to 2010, we revisit the grid again. Jeff Bridges, Cam Hedlund, and Olivia Wilde, and fancy effects. But the sequel wasn't successful, and Disney said maybe we just can't make this work. But 15 years later they said let's take another crack at this, and here it is. It's Tron Ares. Oh boy, with Jared Leto. Oh no, that man has no fucking personality to speak of. It's Tron Ares. Oh my, the digital world is in ours. Jodie Turner-Smith, Greta Lee, Gillian Anderson, and so many more. Tron Ares is the third film in the very extended franchise universe that is Tron. If you don't know what Tron is, in 1982, basically, some people decided we're going to create a digital world, but we don't really have the technology to back it up, but we're going to make it look fancy, at least for 1982, with Jeff Bridges and Bruce Boxleitner and David Warner, who seemingly was everywhere playing just a variety of villains. I mean, it's actually impressive, and for the time, the visual effects were impressive, and Tron wasn't exactly a smashing success. Yes, bole. But it did spawn some video games that were more successful, at least after the 1983 video game crash came and went. And then Tron Legacy came along. And, well, it looked fancy. You don't even know. They had digital effects done from here to Tokyo. It actually did look very cool. It also was very hollow. I will be very honest, I was never the biggest fan of the Tron movies, but did revisit Tron 1982 and Tron Legacy, and thought they were kind of, they're okay. They look cool. There are some neat ideas, but to be perfectly honest, the first Tron was more style over substance, and Tron Legacy was just style with pretty much zero substance. I mean, when you were relying on Olivia Wilde to fucking act, especially in 2010, you got problems. And the lead, Cam, was not very good. But don't worry, Tron Ares is going to ramp things up with a soundtrack from 9 Inch Nails. Good thing they had the soundtrack, because that's about the only differentiating aspect from this and any other Tron movie. So what is Tron Ares? Well, I'll tell you, nameless person I'm creating in this scenario, just shut up, sit down, grab a drink, preferably non-alcoholic, so you can actually understand what I'm saying, even if some may need to drink to understand what the fuck's going on in this head. Ares is a digital program that is played by Jared Leto. So somebody pretending to be human, trying to fit in the human world. Jared Leto pretty much is the perfect person to play that. I don't know what it is about Jared Leto. I have never cared for him. I do not think Jared Leto is very interesting. I think that his performances at best are like spotty as far as being really good. And then his turn in the Suicide Squad, his turn as the Joker, sucked. It was fucking rotten. Morbius is terrible. Nothing was going to save Morbius. But Jared Leto, for any positives that he has as an actor, is just very weird and off-putting. And quite frankly, probably has more skeletons in his closet than a goddamn Egyptian tomb. That being said, he plays Ares, who's a digital program created on the grid by a man named Julian Dillinger, played by Evan Peters from American Horror Story, and was also somebody that deserved way better than he got from Emma Roberts. If you know, you know. Evan Peters is a very good actor, and I'm glad he was in a film like this. And he basically is trying to create a way to get more money for his company, Dillinger Systems, which also was run by his mother, played by the very gifted and still uber gorgeous Gillian Anderson, yes, from X-Files herself. But it won't be easy, because it turns out that there is a certain thing that is needed to basically complete bringing these digital creations into the real world. Like, you know, trying to reformat and figure out AI properly format, and just make sure that it works to where it doesn't just melt the planet with all the data centers. That being said, there is NCOM, that is from the previous two movies, run originally by Kevin Flynn, and then after he disappeared, they reference that, it has been taken over first by the sister of Eve Kim, Tess, but now Eve Kim is taking over the whole goddamn thing, and Eve is played by the uber-gifted and quite frankly, Oscar-worthy performance in past lives. I fucking love Greta Lee in that movie. Greta Lee's great. She's also in the fucking Smoke Show. Yes, please, more of her in movies just more of her in movies. I just love watching her act, love looking at her. She's a fabulous fucking woman. That's the kind of woman you make sure that you take care of and you treat like the goddamn queen she is. Anyway, yes, Greta Lee plays Eve, who is trying to figure out a certain way to basically bring any digital creations to this world to help out the world so the planet doesn't completely erode. Using AI the proper way and everything, or using technology the right way. It won't be easy. Oh, yes, and also there is Jodie Turner-Smith. She plays Athena, that is in the digital realm along with Ares. Ares, Athena, do you get it? Do you fucking get it? Oh, yes, and Jeff Bridges also shows up at some point in this. That really isn't much of a spoiler because if you, looked at the cast, you would know, and you would assume as a Tron movie and the fact that Jeff Bridges is still very much fucking alive, you would expect him to be in this. So, Tron Ares just basically is bringing the grid, the digital world, to the real world. Is still hassling Rob Thomas nearly 30 goddamn years later. And has had a $150 million budget instead of $170 million, like Tron Legacy, and the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack can only disguise how hollow and bland and boring and basic of a bitch of a concept this film is, and how much of a waste of resources this is. Like fucking AI, I just want to say. Yeah, this is another Tron movie. If you like Tron movies, maybe you'll like this. If you were like me, and I know I'm like me, and if I wasn't like me, I don't know who the fuck else I would be. This is probably going to bore the tits off of you. And if you have tits, well, then make sure you just let somebody hold them before they fall off. In all seriousness, it looks fancy. You don't even know. Greta Lee looks phenomenal. Jared Leto is a bland bitch. And Gillian Anderson is giving very little to do. Evan Peters is just watered down to just being a basic, stereotypical creation. I realize this about the Tron movies. None of the villains have ever been good. And this also pretty much eliminates the Tron aspect. It's Tron in name only. No Bruce Boxleitner, unfortunately. This wasn't good. I'm sorry. This was so pulse-poundingly boring. And I mean, it's just like the soundtrack is pulse-pounding, but the movie itself barely has a pulse. Like, it looks cool, but for all the talk, all this fancy, the ideas of bringing the grid, power into the real world doesn't really amount to much. Oh, and they said it was filmed in British Columbia and stuff like that. I think it was filmed in some parts of Seattle because there were companies that have been listed in Seattle or the surrounding areas, such as Dumont Recycling. There is one in Kirkland, which is literally 40 miles from me, or about 40 minutes, maybe 30-something miles from me. And I think I recognize some of those streets. When I saw Meridian, I go, are you fucking saying it's fucking Meridian Street? Which, by the way, is in Seattle. And also, I think some of those shots were of Bellevue and Seattle. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be corrected. It could be fucking Vancouver. It could be other parts of British Columbia. But those fancy city shots sure looked a lot like cities I've been to. Pretty recently, I want to say. I was just in North Seattle, by the way, for this. I went and paid an extra $10 in fees, along with my Regal Pass, to see this in 3D and IMAX in the closest IMAX to me. Because the other IMAX that's at a Regal is like an hour north. And I will be goddamned if I'm going to fucking Bellingham for that. But yeah, this is just a bland movie. This is really boring. It doesn't have any emotional depth, substance. There are a few jokes, I guess, that are intended to land. And yes, if you want to have somebody play a digital creation trying to fit in the real world, Jared Leto is pretty much typecasting at this point. But I really do not get the appeal of Tron. I just fucking don't. I was willing to give this a chance. And had my 3D glasses on and everything. And within 30 minutes, I'm like, well, this isn't going to be very good. And it doesn't get any better. The lack of danger in the Tron movies is actually kind of alarming. The lack of reason to care about these characters is almost like palpable. It almost like, is just ear-splittingly awful. I don't even think that's how that works. But think about it. In the first Tron movie, yeah, you had a little bit of danger. In Tron Legacy, you didn't have much. You did have Flynn and Clue. And you get some Easter eggs and everything in this. I'll talk about in the spoilers. But in Tron Ares, you just have a Tron movie with a fancy soundtrack and nothing else to offer. So it's in theaters if you want to check it out. I'll get into a few spoilers. I don't know how many I'll get into. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So in the beginning, we see that Jillian is creating digital, taking the digital people out of this realm for investors. The thing is, though, he has only perfected the formula for them the last 29 minutes in the real world. There is a reason for this. There is something called the permanence code that needs to be found, and Eve has been looking for it, along with her assistant, possible nerdy fuck buddy, for all I know. And there are other actors you will recognize in this. The problem is none of their characters really mean anything. But Greta Lee... Put the camera on Greta Lee. I will be very happy because, my God, what a woman she is. I mean, with respect, what a woman she is. Her husband, super goddamn lucky. Wish him nothing but the best. But she is looking through these old things because Tess used to run Encom and felt that Flynn was still around, kept his work, the floppy disks and that kind of stuff. Yes, kids, we used to actually use that shit. I used some of that shit in goddamn school. Like, at least in, middle school and stuff like that, and even junior high. By the time we got to, high school, the computer was a little more advanced, but not by much. They were like the square, harder floppies that you could actually bop somebody in the head with instead of the paper-thin ones. But she's searching on all this stuff, and she's able to find the permanence code. Problem is, Jillian's also looking for it. So Encom is having this big old launch party thing that, like in Tron Legacy, doesn't go all that well. But I guess Encom are the good guys now, and Dillinger Systems are the bad guys. And, Dillinger's going through... Jillian's going through this... Jillian. You know what? Jillian's actually better. Jillian, because it reminds me of this song from Within Temptation, which... better written than anything in this. I mean... And by the way, I didn't even mention who this was directed by. It was directed by the guy that did the most recent Pirates movie and also one of the Maleficent movies. And it was written by a guy named Jesse Wigoto. And the story was done by the guy that did 8 Below. Yeah, the dog sledding movie that had Paul Walker in it. Y'all need to try fucking harder. So anyway, essentially, and I'm just going to throw this away. Basically... she misses her sister Tess. She is trying to find a way to utilize, AI technology properly so you can carry on conversations with people that you miss, from files and everything, and memories and stuff like that. And maybe, come to grips with that kind of stuff. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that use, but I don't think it's trying to utilize it in the worst way. Meanwhile, Julian is trying to come up with a way to basically create these digital, these digital copies in the real world, take over the world essentially, and Ares is master control. And instead of the circular, the disc and everything, he's got a triangle thing like he's Diamond Dallas Page. I'm just doing it like that because Diamond Dallas Page has that whole thing copyrighted. But yes, the diamond cutter thing. But him and Athena, it seems like there's actually, maybe not necessarily a romance, but at least an understanding. And Ares starts to have questions. He, at one point, goes through these files and is trying to search for this stuff. and find the permanence code after the red suited guys break in, to this area to get this stuff. While the blue guys, or the blue or white guys, I think they're whitish blue with black, that are the NCOM guys, are doing all these battles and everything. None of these battles, by the way, are interesting. I'm making them sound probably really boring, and I'm still making them sound more interesting than they actually are. But basically, he finds out about, Eve's memories and starts to develop feelings. Like, help me, I'm feeling. Not necessarily feelings for her, but who could blame him if he developed feelings for Greta Lee, who wouldn't develop feelings for her. Sorry, can't help it. When you see an uber talented and uber attractive woman that is just so gifted, you have to praise her. So that being said, she's trying to basically, she is trying to, hone this permanence key. She finds it, and she finds it along with her buddy. They could be the nerdy, Friends with Benefits, the FWB, I believe, as the kids say. I don't think the kids say that. And they are able to create a fruit tree up in the mountains, like the snowy mountains and everything, like Sub-Zero, get over here. Wait, no, that's the whatever. And he, him and, Eve are basically looking at this fruit tree, and it goes past 29 minutes. So now she's got the permanence key on this drive. Ares, meanwhile, every time he is summoned, he's getting a little more insubordinate, that kind of stuff. But him and Athena are supposed to go pursue after Eve. Julian cuts into the NCOM feed and basically hacks their stuff. But he doesn't get everything that he needs. Evan Peters is much better than this material, and he's such a standard stock villain that it's actually weirdly frustrating to see the waste of potential. And Gillian Anderson is given nothing to fucking do. Besides have a couple decent lines and look good. That's really it. No Mulder here. No, the poot is out there. I think that's what it is. But essentially, we have, Ares and Athena racing on their little, Tron bikes and everything, doing the laser cut thing where they can cut through a cop car, they can cut through stuff, but yet they can't knock Greta Lee off her goddamn motorcycle. Which, again, racing through this stuff, I go, this is just a standard day in Seattle. There was a shot of a bridge later. It might be the bridge to Vancouver, but I swore it was a Tacoma Narrows bridge. I could be totally wrong here. I actually haven't been across the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in years because it's near fucking Tacoma, or towards fucking Tacoma. It's actually near Silverdale. Geography lesson for all you that have no intention of visiting Washington State. Moving on. While they're pursuing her, Athena gets knocked into this parking garage area, knocked onto the floor and everything. I will say this, that is pretty much standard for any parking garage in Seattle or the surrounding areas. You're going to see an accident, a body falling somewhere. So, Greta Lee gets the Tron bike working and does this and races through all this stuff, but then her and Ares get in a firefight, the laser Tron things, and essentially, he ends up fading away. Athena ends up fading away, but somebody from Julian Enterprise Systems, and I know it's Dillinger said, but work with me here, shoots Eve and sends her to the digital realm, because you could just do that now. They just have the gun that you could just shoot. No laser from Flynn's office. Nope, just here. I mean, I know that things can advance. You don't have to explain this stuff, but it's like, nope, okay, this is just happening. Eve ends up in the goddamn grid and now has the permanence key in her. Kinda. Or the code thing. So now they're going to extract it. Except Ares basically says, how about this? You get me out there and we take the 29 minutes I'm going to be there to get me the ability to find the code so I can be a real boy, Pinocchio. What? Okay. he basically wants to exist on two planes. Instead, he wants to have the power because he's got the power, but he wants to exist in the real world. He's tired of, Julian doing all the shit that he does. And essentially, basically, Evan Peters is eroding, possibly for real after doing this role. And Ares essentially betrays, all his, people, which really you only see Athena, you only see anybody else in helmets. So I guess Jodie Turner-Smith is the only one that they could afford to shoot. Or the only one they cared to shoot. So they race, being Eve and Ares, they race on the goddamn thing. And by the way, Eve, creating new life. I get it. Do you get it? So anyway, they race on some water. They race under the water. Laser stuff. Boom, boom, boom. And he ends up blowing up this factory thing that could just be digitally recreated because it's a grid. It's fine. So they end up on the real world again. They end up at this gas station. They steal a guy's car. It's all fancy. Oh, and apparently Jared Leto, Ares really likes the Depeche Mode. And they needle drop. I just can't get enough. By the way, 9 Inch Nails soundtrack. Nailed it. Trent Reznor was an executive producer. Jared Leto was a producer on this. I produce a lot of stuff I don't want the world to see. And I produce stuff that has been less smelly than this. So they steal the gas station guy's car. They race to this area, which is some old arcade stuff with Flynn stuff. Oh, and the old laser. The old laser they just happen to have at the ready to transport somewhere in 15 minutes. And Athena gets summoned, but a few minutes later than him. So basically, if he gets sent to this old world, the old grid, the old Tron thing, from the first movie, then that means for a few minutes, Athena can mess with them. The problem is Athena's a goddamn idiot. And I mean the character, I don't mean the actress. And there's also this fascination with rain. Like first when Ares was summoned, he senses the rain. I hope you brought your umbrellas. And then after bashing the possible FWB guy and targeting Greta Lee and just about to shoot her and everything, the sprinklers go off and suddenly Athena's fascinated by the rain. She doesn't understand the feeling, and then she fades away. And Jared Leto is on the Tron grid and does some stuff. It's a throwback thing, bit, or whatever that weird cube thing with a weird little ball thing was. Gets him a Tron bike. Ooh, classic. Yeah, to get it, because we're calling back to something, back when movies had ingenuity and everything back in the 80s. See, movies still have ingenuity now. They're just not given a big budget. Or at least not often. So nevertheless, he ends up riding on the bike, gets to Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges finds the permanence code, whatever. And he gives it to him, but he says, there's going to be a price here. But he just wants to basically be in the real world. Rob Thomas should have warned him about that. I already used that joke. I've used that joke too often. Like this movie reuses and recycles too many things. So he ends up in the goddamn real world again. But this time for realsies. So he doesn't just have to be in the grid. He'd go back to the grid if he wants. He probably doesn't want to after all that shit. But now Athena has summoned one of those Tron ships and is just racing and going through Seattle, Bellevue, British Columbia. Bashing buildings and wrecking police cars. That's any given day down in that area. But there are also some jets that are firing missiles at them because we have turned into fucking Independence Day. Independence Day 2, by the way. Because that's exactly what we fucking need as a reminder of that. So, Eve ends up running away to help her, to give her friends time to hack the Julian Enterprise Dillinger Systems thing. And she runs away, but then ends up getting trapped by the laser stuff, the laser shield thing. That, by the way, won't kill you if you have the settings on different. So now she's just wrapped up in a nice, neat little yipe stripe bubble tape thing. Am I getting angrier about this movie? Yes, I am. But then, this one plane got blown up, but this other jet just manages to fire a missile at one of the legs of the ship, so it starts buckling. And because Jodie Turner-Smith apparently doesn't know how to pilot this thing, he's just like, I wonder what the fuck I'll do about this. And then the plane gets lasered, but crashes into the ship, and then the ship starts to stumble and bumble and everything. Why is any of this happening, and why do I fucking care? So, meanwhile, just before this, one thing I forgot to mention is Athena decides, after being Master Control and getting her orders interrupted, Gillian Anderson's dead. She gets stabbed with the goddamn, triangle. The neatly trimmed triangle, as it were. And so that's it. She's dead. So great use of that star power of Disney. And Julian's supposed to be upset that all this is going on, but you don't feel any sympathy because he can't hack in anything, he can't do any of this stuff. And then, basically, Jared Leto shows back up. So we get Ares and Athena battling, and they sort of do some stuff, but she has a limited amount of time. He has unlimited time. It's like that movie In Time, except more inept. And that was a concept that should have been used better. Boom, boom, boom. Eventually Athena fades away, is obsolete. And now, everything's fine. I guess all those, fancy one-of-a-kind arcade games are just broken up. But now, Eve is able to utilize the grid powers properly to create better ecosystem work and stuff like that. And Ares is staying off the grid, har. And he's traveling the world looking for people and doing this stuff and everything. And they're hinting at a possible sequel. Oh yes, and by the way, Julian went into the grid. Why'd he go into the grid? Because the police were knocking on his door. And you don't want to mess with the Seattle police, or the Bellevue police, or the Kirkland police, or the British Columbia police, or the Royal Canadian Mounted Police up there in Vancouver. They basically had Julian is now in the goddamn grid. And then the mid-credits scene does, gets his own helmet thing. And oh boy. Yeah, Jeff Bridges was in this for like a grand total of 5 minutes. I know he's old, but God. Really? All the slop we got in this goddamn movie, that's the best they can do? Yeah, that's Tron Ares. I really hope this isn't successful enough for a sequel. I really hope it isn't. I love that 9 Inch Nails soundtrack. I may download that, but god damn it. What a waste of Greta Lee. What a waste of Gillian Anderson. What a waste of resources. What a waste of Evan Peters. I say a waste of Jared Leto, but Jared Leto is just a waste of skin and bones. That's all he basically is. It gets an F. Tron Ares is bad. It's bad, it's Shalom. Agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin. Until we visit the grid again, God, I hope not. Happy trails to you.